and then went around the world selling them, which gave us the opportunity to live in Spain and France and England as I was growing up, which was lovely. And then he went back to America, and it was like all of a sudden it was no longer like, be free, you know, and so he was very unhappy in his work for the last 20 years. And that made me very sad, and it made me determine I'm going to be happy. So here, that's my excuse, is I knew I was going to be happy. I had no idea I was going to be an actor. If you had told me at any time in my life I'd be an actor, I would say, there is no possible way. I'm too shy, I'm too demure, I'm a very private, quiet person. I know it doesn't seem like that. But I am, you know, you know, I was, a friend of mine was going to go to law school, so I thought, well, I'm going to be a lawyer too, by golly, and I'll work at the State Department in London and Paris, Rome, Amsterdam, England, you know, and so, you know, I was going through UC Berkeley, and this was back in the glory days. I think were just great. You know, a college education was paid for by taxes, so I was going to one of the best universities in the country, free, and it's like, that is beautiful to me. I love that. I think education is the gift that we can give our kids, the gift that says what every parent wants to do is make the opportunity for life to be better for their children. And education, if you're a young person, get that education, and I hope that we can change things again so taxes pay for it, and then you can just go through it without getting into debt, because I'm a big believer in non-debt.
Yeah! Woo! Great!
Yeah, but I'm at the same time, there I am again. I sort of like, I'm at UC Berkeley. I've got this great professor who, you know, I'm studying the nature of man, because that fascinates me. Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, Voltaire, Aristotle, and philosophy. And the final exam is, what do you think is, you know, what is the nature of man according to Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, la-di-da. You know, that's question 1A. And 1B is, what's your opinion of the nature of man, based on what you know? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm 20 years old, and nobody's ever asked me to think before. So, I mean, I'm like, Hobbes, you know, Locke, so I got through the first half, it was a 3-hour exam, 4-hour exam. I got through the first hour part of it in about 12 minutes. And then, you know, I mean, I had little friction marks in the paper, because I knew that stuff, you know? But then I thought, now what do I think? And I put down my pen, and I started to think what is the nature of man. And I just then wrote for a couple of hours, and it was the most delicious experience to really try to express myself on paper on that, you know, and just to say my belief is that mankind is so fantastic, so full of love, so powerful and mighty, and you know, if there are gods out in the heavens looking down on us, they must be amazed at our capacity to love and to heal and to change our lives for the better and to do the common good. And that's one of the things I love about Americans, you know. When there's trouble in the world, we really stand up for the other people. And I think that's a quality that is unique to the, I mean, everybody has generosity, but we have a way of finding the of our hearts, and I think that's so wonderful. And so that's what I sort of think I wrote about in my exam.
I'll give it up for that. That's awesome.
And that changed my life right there, because then I determined 100% for sure, no matter what, I was going to get a PhD in political science with a theory emphasis before I went on to law school. And I went, I'm only going to take this professor. I'm going to write my thesis for this professor. I'm going to do all my graduate work with this professor. And then I went back for my last 2 quarters at UC Berkeley, and I couldn't get into a single one of his classes. So being the mature adult that I was, I said, fine, if I can't take that, I quit. And I did. I walked right out Souther Gates there at UC Berkeley, and I, you know, I thought, you know, all right, I'm just going to sit here and wait until I can take his class, and what can I? And I got great, generous parents. We never had any money growing up, but my parents were always 100%. You know, honey, whatever you want to do in life, that's what we want you to do. You know, and I'll fine, I'll just read books for a couple of years until I get in this class again. And a friend of mine calls me up, you know, and he goes, hey, well, since you're free, why don't you take an acting class for me? Les, There's absolutely no way I could ever stand up in front of people. I'm just terrified of people. You might notice I'm the person that disappears when there are 3 people in the room. He goes, yes, I do. You can change that. I don't want to change that. It's nice to disappear. Well, if you come and take the acting class, maybe we can go to lunch beforehand at the student cafeteria where they're learning how to be professional chefs, and then we can go to class. And you don't even have to do anything. Wait, what was that part of the what?
Food?
Yeah, chef. Food? Exactly. As you might notice, I do enjoy food. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take the class as long as I don't have to do anything. Yeah, I'm going to take the class. So I start taking this class, and I'm like, watching people doing their monologues, And I'm like, this is really fun, and eating, Hey, how about those? And hey, let's go to the opera. Let's go to the theater. Because, the school had a theater, there's opera productions, things like that. So I'm like having a great time. This is so much easier than like reading books at 100 miles an hour and trying to, regurgitate information is what you do in a lot of university work. And so we got our first monologue, and I'm like, I'm going to watch everybody do their monologue. And he goes, well, you should learn it too, just, And I said, okay, I'll learn it too. And so I learned my monologue, and everybody's going, and then people start doing their monologue, and I start hiding in the class, and I'm like getting farther and farther back and smaller and smaller and smaller in the disappear mode until everybody else is gone but me, and I suddenly hear, well, Charles, you're up.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been deceived. I walked up there, I said like walking up, and I'm like, and I stand in front of people, and I start the monologue, and I notice that my right leg is going like that. So I like put my weight on it, and then my left leg is going like that, and I hear this voice inside my head. Spread your legs evenly and put your weight on them evenly. And so I do. I spread my legs like this. I put my weight even. I'm like, oh! They're both going like that. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, in the monologue, you're like, my name is Joe. I died a terrible death in the fire. It's like, first acting monologue. You got to do the worst monologue in the world. And I was very good at doing the worst monologue in the world. So I'm sitting there going, hi, my name is Joe. I died a terrible death in the fire and in my warehouse when I was in there. And I know I shouldn't have been, but I didn't know what to do because it was cold outside at night. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what the monologue is. I also don't have a clue what I said. Because my internal dialogue is, you're gonna die any second, you're gonna die. Because I was petrified. I was thoroughly terrified to be up there, and I'm sitting there, and I know my legs are going. I'm waiting to hear the knocking of them going like that, and I finish my monologue, and I'm like, and I'm sure that it's like a cartoon, and people, as everybody does. And now it's time to critique Charles. Anybody have a critique for Charles? I'm like, I want to know how it is that you're the only person that did a monologue and you weren't nervous.
What?
That was my moment. And I have no idea how, because you had your eyes closed and you were in another room somewhere. I have no idea. But I thought, well, that's acting. I think I like that if I can be that terrified and people don't know. And so I started doing other monologues and other, scene work. I'm like starting to get a little confidence. And then the school had an audition. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go to this audition because it's Midsummer Night's Dream. And I want to be Oberon, king of the fairies. I'm like,
wow, he's good.
And you go and you watch, and everybody does their monologue. It's like, oh, how you watching them? Oh, there lies Titania sometime night. And I get up there, there lies Titania sometime of the night. And I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I'm gonna get this one. I really did a great job. Because I watch everybody. I'm like, I knew I did it the best. And I call Les, I go, hey Les, I think I got this part because I did a really, 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 really good job. He goes, don't count your chickens before they hatch. I'm like, no, I was really good, Because I watched everybody, I watched the whole audition of everybody is, you never know, why don't you go tomorrow and find out. So I go to the casting, that they put it on the wall, like, and I go up there and I look at the Oberon. And I'm sure it didn't say the guy, it didn't say this, but what I read was, Oberon, not you. Okay. And then, okay, what about one of the male leads, the romantic leads? Not you. You know, what about the guy that is a donkey? Not you. What about a scene changer? Nothing. You're out. Bupkis. Forget about it. I got nothing. And that is why I'm an actor.
Because they told you no.
I give it up.